Hello, welcome. Thank you for joining us for this episode. And today we're here with Sophia. Hello, Sophia. Welcome. Thank you for joining us. Tell us a bit about you. Introduce yourself
Yeah.
and tell us about you.
Hi, nice to meet you. So I'm Sophia Marshall. I'm an illustrator and animator based in Brooklyn. And I uh I really like drawing and I'm really passionate about animals and sort of telling weird, offbeat, magical stories. So yeah, currently I'm, doing freelance animating and building my style as an artist and having a lot of fun. And it's a pleasure to be here.
Okay, great. Thank you for joining us. All right. So, what made you want to be a filmmaker? Let's start with that.
Um, I think Ghibli movies definitely. I sort of come at it from the like art side of things because my film is animated. So watching animated movies as a kid, I was always just so impressed with the magic and all of the like you can kind of do literally whatever you can draw in animation. So, yeah, definitely growing up seeing all these like incredible animated stories and being like, I hope that I can make somebody feel like how I feel right now watching this.
How long have you been doing this and how many films have you made?
This film that we're discussing is my only film so far. This was my sort of animation directorial debut. It was like a student film that I made for my senior thesis, graduating from Pratt Institute. But yeah, I'm really excited to see what else I can do and maybe try to do some things outside of the constraints of school. Like I'm interested to see how that would like expand my horizons. Yeah.
Okay, great. So, when you told everybody, I'm going to be a filmmaker, I'm going to be an artist, what was your reaction from your friends and family? Were they, only after you have your law degree can you go become an illustrator or a filmmaker? Or were they, go for it if that's your passion? Well,
I'm very lucky to have a very supportive family. My mom is actually a full-time sculptor. And she does sort of similar things to me, like making characters and like sort of in like beat lore and magical worlds and stuff. So I feel like she definitely understood where the instinct was coming from. And my dad also went to school for like filmmaking. So it was sort of honestly like the in between the two things that they did. So they were very like, oh, we get it, we understand. So yeah, very lucky to have that support from them. And a lot of my friends I met at Pratt Institute, so they all definitely understand the artistic urge and have their own like practices and stuff. So it's really wonderful to like be a part of an artistic community like that, which is also why I love doing film festivals because I get to meet even more people like that.
you kind of answered this question anyway about asking it. So you have a support group, a tribe, folks that's your filmmaking tribe.
Yeah, I like to think so. My friend group, I feel like we all support each other a lot and challenge each other, not just about filmmaking. Most of them are illustrators, so some of them don't do as much like motion stuff as I do, but I do feel like they've always supported me with the like artistic development of films and understanding like the illustration and concept side of things. And it's really fun. We even just like as hangouts, we will just like all pick a prompt and draw the same thing together, just like for fun, which I feel like is really some of the pieces that I've made that I love the most came from just doing that. Sort of a silly thing for 20 somethings to be doing, but it works for us.
What made you decide to make this film?
This film was, like I said, it was my thesis film for my final year of undergraduate at Pratt Institute. But obviously we get to like design and write our own film completely. So what I think inspired me to do this project specifically was definitely I've always been really inspired by and in love with like unusual animals. So this film stars like a possum and a witch and sort of like their story of getting to know each other and, you know, becoming unusual friends. And yeah, I was just really inspired by the idea of like magic and sort of weird animals that you wouldn't like you would think of a black cat to go along with a witch. So I was like, what would happen if I put a witch with sort of a strange little trash creature? And then I just had fun with it.
Okay, cool. Cool. What was the hardest part and what was the most fun part of the
Yeah, I feel like the hardest part was probably keeping it under 4 minutes. Because my school had you know, 4 minutes was like the max length that we could make our films. And so it was very hard to like pare down the narrative to be like a cohesive storyline that had like an arc and, you know, some action and a clear sequence of events. Like it can be a lot easier to fit something into under 4 minutes, especially in animation, if you sort of lean on the like surrealist part of that, which is wonderful. I love like surrealist films. But for me, I was like really excited to try and do like a narrative with a character arc. So I had to really like keep it to only the most necessary scenes possible. And that was a challenge, but a really fun one. I think the most fun part was just the possum. I liked getting to look at a lot of like funny and silly little possum references, and they make the craziest expressions. So I was like trying to challenge myself to push it in both directions of like possums can be really cute and cuddly looking, but then they can also be like feral and gross looking. So I wanted to have both of those represented in this film, and I hopefully succeeded.
Cool, great. So are you happy with this product, or are you the type of filmmaker that sits there, looks at the film and goes, someday I'm going to get enough money and fix that mistake? Or are you the type of filmmaker that sits there and goes, okay, that film is done. Anything which I learned from there, I'm just going to use on my next project. Which one are you?
I think I definitely have moments of both. It's funny, I sometimes when I watch this film now, it's been about a year since I made it. It's not so much that I have nitpicks with it as I'm like, who made this? I don't remember any of making this. Like it feels almost at this point like it's sprung fully formed, which is not true. I worked so hard on it. So yeah, it's almost like I think there was definitely times where I would nitpick at it and I would be like, oh, like if I had more time, I would have fixed that. And God knows, I did almost all of the backgrounds, like coloring all of the backgrounds in one weekend before it was due. So I'm sure there are things
Classic
like
school.
a classic, yeah. So I'm sure there are things I could have improved on, but I think overall I feel very happy with what I learned in it, and I'm more excited to move on to new concepts than I am to try and fix things. So I feel like I'm coming to a state of being happy with it the way it is.
Okay. So we all know that in the indie world, in the indie film world, we're not going to buy jets, private jets. We're not buying yachts and mansions. So what would you define as success? In the indie film world, how do you know you're successful?
That's a really good question. You know, I certainly don't feel like I've achieved it yet, but I feel like when I imagined what it would look like, maybe just like the ability to make the ideas that you've always thought of and you've had like flowing in the back of your head for a billion years, and having the time and space to be creative and have the creative control over those ideas as much as possible, especially because that's the benefit of being in an indie film situation is you don't have 10 billion executives looking over your shoulder. So I guess like making the most out of that. And obviously also it would be lovely to, you know, pay rent and all those things. Good
Bills
too.
paid.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. So somebody comes along and goes, hi, and Sophia, I'm going to be a filmmaker just like you. What would you say? What would you be advice to somebody who's thinking about becoming an indie filmmaker?
I would be very flattered, certainly. I think probably I would advise being realistic about the scope of the projects that you're imagining. Don't get too far ahead of yourself thinking you're going to do all these amazing things. Like there's a reason that, Ghibli movies are an entire team doing them. So try to work within a realistic scope, but still find ways to be excited and creative within that scope. And also know that you won't be buying any private jets.
Yeah. Okay. That's basically the last question I have. Do you have any final words of wisdom to the indie film world or?
Not really. I guess I would say I'm still getting involved. So if anybody has any words of wisdom for me, you can check out my work at my Instagram at squigglywitch, portfolio, sophiamarshall.com. You're welcome to email me at the contact email there or DM me or anything and let me know about things going on in the indie film world. And also, I guess it's so wonderful to be a part of it, and I'm glad to be joining.
Great. Thank you for joining us today.